Hello. In this video, I am going to talk about business understanding with ChatGPT. That's the first stage in CRISP DM framework. My name is Ahmet Askol. I am with the University of New Haven in Pompey College of Business, Connecticut. Uh, in this part, business understanding, we're just trying to understand, actually identify the business problem. So you remember, as I told you in my previous lecture, it's kind of, there are a couple of different ways the problem is given to you. It could be your supervisor is asking a assignment, giving you an assignment that you're supposed to investigate, for example, a customer problem, a quality problem, a product problem, and then you have a business problem. Um, and at other times, there are no obvious problems, or problems are so general. You're losing market share. Your stores are closing and not making enough money. So then you're looking at, well, where is the problem? Where the problem is? Why we lose customers? So it's kind of it could be really general situations, but other times, like I said, could be very specific. And in either case, you kind of investigate the situation, and to do this, you have to have some knowledge about it, knowledge about this particular business problem, a particular area. So if, for example, you have a quality problem and you could be a quality control manager, assistant, engineer, and you're in this business for 20 years, 30 years, then you know everything. So, there's little to learn in this particular situation. However, say you're new in this particular business context, and you need to learn a little bit more about it. And yes, ChatGPT can help you understand the context, specific area. It could be a complex situation. It could be a simple situation, but it will help you. Normally, you're supposed to, read books or papers, to learn a particular subject, but ChatGPT can speed up this process, just providing directly information about a certain situation, certain subject. You ask questions like interviewing an expert. And also you can ask, say, what are the most popular books in this area, most popular articles in this particular area, to get more information. Um, with that background, you say, okay, now I know, I have the necessary context, knowledge, and everything. Now I focus on, yeah, I understand the problem. Now I have a better understanding, a better perspective to identify the business problem. Um, so it is kind of important because you need to identify the right business problem, describe the problem, identify the right problem. If you make a mistake here, then everything that will follow in the next stages will be kind of wasted. You're kind of solving the wrong problem. So right here, you focus on the right problem. Well, there are a couple of approaches what you can do in this stage. I kind of listed, identified three things you can do to have a better understanding in the business problem, and then you kind of write it down, specify it, clear wording, clearly narrow down, explain, write it down. What's the goals here? What are the objectives, specific objectives here? And in even one more step, what could be specific measures and metrics? How do you know something is achieved, your goals and objectives achieved? How do we know, or to achieve these things, what kind of measures you need, okay, in the process? Well, kind of, like I said, if you're not an expert, then you kind of focus on learning, okay, learning more about this particular business situation. And ChatGPT can help you, okay, at this point with, if you write the prompts properly, then you get a good stuff, good knowledge and information. So this is what I call the learning using ChatGPT. For example, um, you're kind of investigating a certain marketing problem, and then you kind of everybody's talking about marketing metrics, this and that, and then you kind of get lost. And then yeah, it's okay. I mean, you could just say list the most popular marketing analytics metrics, and it will come up to you all possibilities, all kind of uh, customer churn, the others rate this, click this, click that, and a lot of marketing, especially social media metrics. And then you say, well, I don't know it. Well, you could say some of the things are familiar, but some other things kind of quite unfamiliar. You say, what is customer churn? Can you explain? Yeah, it can explain to you. So step by step, every terminology you see, you kind of check, check, check. I understand, I understand, I understand. But then you say something you see, I don't get it. Then ask more information for more information. Another thing is, what are the key factors influencing customer churn? For example, yeah, you understand customer churn, but what are the factors leading to customer churn? Another terminology, what is click-through rate, CTR? What is attribution? What is conversion rate? What is touch points in marketing? As you can see, these examples are in the area of marketing, but I am not a marketing person. But with working with ChatGPT, I learn a lot, in these specific business functions, such as marketing. You can learn a lot, but you should be kind of systematically investigating, systematic learning. And then in my next video, I'm gonna kind of show you, or actually next slide, kind of systematic learning, systematic inquiry and learning process in my next slide. Well, next part is kind of you're looking at, you learned things about this particular area. Say you were not familiar with social media marketing, but with ChatGPT, you learn a lot about social media marketing. But then again, next stage could be kind of brainstorming. Say, how do you ask ChatGPT any kind of questions, and then you kind of think critically or think creatively, based on, the answers and questions and answers and questions and answers. You kind of going through, a lot of leads, a lot of pointers, this direction, right, left, right, different kind of directions. But you kind of in the brainstorming mode, so you kind of follow all of these directions in different ways. And who knows, maybe you hit something really interesting, okay, about this business problem. For example, say if the data is not collected, and then this is marketing situation, and then you say, okay, customer churn problem. To address the customer churn problem, what kind of data set do I need? So computer will, the ChatGPT will provide you some kind of imaginary data set with the name of the columns, and then you look at the name of the columns, and you say, yeah, okay, now the expectation, what I know what to expect, what kind of data set should I collect to study customer churn problem. Or you could say, sales data analysis. You're doing sales data analysis. What could be the data? What kind of data? Again, generate a data dictionary. If the data is available, then you can again ask, different questions. Say totally general questions. So you upload the entire data set and say, okay, analyze the data set, okay, and explain its business context. What is this about? Okay, upload the data set and say, explain this data set to me. So this is very general. Again, I this is brainstorming stage or initial investigation stage, just without any constraints, where it goes, you don't care where it goes, just asking, general questions or specific questions, just without too much, methodology or thinking, just generate ideas. What key business questions can be answered with this data? Can I use this data set to improve student retention rates? So this is like student data set. And then you're thinking, how can I use this data set for student retention? Do I need additional data sets? So any kind of, you have a data set and you can say, what kind of questions can be answered using this data? So this is one of the questions you can just ask ChatGPT to generate some ideas for you. Obviously, you focus on, the one question that, you identified or explained to you by your supervisor. But again, this will help you. What else can be solved? Okay, or what are the possibilities? So you can focus on the right question. Okay, because the problem is your supervisor explains something, you understand differently, he meant something differently, or means something differently. And how do you frame it? How does she or he frames it? So there will be communication problems. So from the ChatGPT perspective, what are the questions can be answered by this data set? It will be a good start, okay, to identify the exact problem to answer, okay. So it could be a good starting point. Well, finally, you kind of focus on refining all of these learnings and brainstorming stages and say, okay, so we have a clearly or vaguely defined business situation, business problem, somewhat defined by my supervisor, but that has to be specific. Okay, it's specifically stated. So you kind of state actual business problem, actual goals and objectives, and possibly the metrics as well. So for example, you can say, can you come up with a metric for customer churn? So you identify customer churn is a problem, but then how do you measure customer churn? So do we have the data set? Do we have the necessary information in the data set? Or do we, calculate using the data set to get that metric? If it's something to be calculated, can ChatGPT help come up with the formula? Yes. So for example, you could say, how can we measure absenteeism using the data? Say you have an HR data, human resources data, and you're kind of wondering, how do you measure absenteeism? So we have this data set, but which columns to use to measure absenteeism? And other things, which columns to use? So you focus on employee turnover rate. How do you calculate turnover rate? Okay, and which columns? So start date, end date. Somebody starts the job, starts the position in a particular date in the past, and then quits after a certain couple of years. So two columns. So it is in this example, it's kind of clear, but sometimes this is not so obvious. What are another prompt? Monthly sales. How do you calculate monthly sales from the data set? When the data set has the daily sales, but you want monthly sales or quarterly sales. Yeah, it's kind of obvious. I see, you just add them up, daily sales to get the monthly sales. But if there is a formula or some kind of Python code and R code, that will be appreciated, right? So you want to get the code or conversion formula. All right, I'm going to stop now and continue in my next video with a systematic inquiry and learning process with ChatGPT.